The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this afternoon's webinar. We'll be talking about the 2018 New Jersey Public Recreational Bathing Rule, which went into effect January 16, 2018. Today's webinar is being recorded and archived, and it will be posted to the Department of Health's Environmental Health website. Let's get right into the program here. My name is Lowell Muter. I'm the Program Manager for the Public Health and Food Protection Program. My email, phone number, and recreational bathing email is posted above. In addition, we have our website address on here. Please make note of that, as not only the recording of this webinar, but a copy of the PowerPoint and an FAQ are posted at that website. Let's take a look at the history. The PRB rule was readopted with amendments in 2009. In the fall of 2009, the Department of Health convened a group of interested parties and stakeholders. These stakeholders included regulated community, the regulators, public health labs, academia, and other state departments. Some of the things we had to take a look at, we had to take a look at the Beaches Act, that is from the United States Environmental Protection Agency, and of course the Virginia Graham-Baker Act. The Virginia Graham-Baker Act has to do with the anti-entrapment covers. A lot of work was needed to be done. We had to amend every subchapter of NJAC 8:26, the Public Recreational Bathing Rule. We improved syntax and grammar. We redefined terms and created terms. There were technical and substantive changes. And of course, as a result of this, recodification of the rule had to be done. Subchapter 1, the purpose, scope, and definitions. Many definitions had to be added. The rule had not been revised significantly since the year 2000. A lot of different things happened since the year 2000. One of the major issues that happened is aquatic activities in pool. So we defined the term aquatic activity area, which is basically a pool which contains aquatic play equipment. And aquatic play equipment, we added that definition. Some of these things you are already familiar with, such as slides, but the rope ladders and water dumps and spray parks were just starting to come about in the year 2000. Slides have always been around for a long time. An aquatic recreational facility. For lack of better terminology, it's what we would think a water park is. A water park or aquatic recreational facility contains things such as surf pools, wave pools, lazy rivers, and spray parks. DCA gets involved with some types of aquatic recreation facilities, such as the surf pools, wave pools, and lazy rivers. When it's a DCA licensed facility, they will license and inspect all activities within that facility. Spray parks have always been under the PRB rule, the Public Recreational Bathing Rule. A municipal spray park by itself is not regulated by DCA, the Department of Community Affairs. However, it is regulated by the local health authority in the PRB rule. One of the most important slides in this presentation is in the definition of a DSAM. And a DSAM is Department Sanctioned Analytical Methods. The department refers to the Department of Environmental Protection. The Department of Environmental Protection is charged with the certification of laboratories within the state. They added new lab testing methods approved by the standard methods of the US EPA. The important thing to know about this is that certified labs must meet US EPA standard methods for wastewater treatment to evaluate pools and natural bathing waters. Therefore, by adding this into the rule instead of the specific standard method, the new standard method automatically becomes updated and covered by the rule. We added the term design professional. This is consistent with the Consumer Product Safety Commission and ANSI 7 as defined under the Virginia Graham Baker Pool and Spa Act. And in a nutshell, they are licensed architects or professional engineers that have experience in the design and development of aquatic recreational facilities such as swimming pools. All documents must be sealed and certified by the design professional. A new definition for the term health club was added. In actuality, health clubs are now considered special exempt facilities, but the date was 2010. The actual start date was September of 2010, when it was signed into law, the effective date of that new statute in 2010. Unfortunately, we were not able to put this into the rule until 2018. So they've been special exempt for a while. There are some special considerations that we need to consider with them. Number one, it's restricted to the guest use only for the health club. No one under the age of 16. And an important factor is the water depth cannot exceed 5 feet. And the pool cannot be shared with any other entity, just the licensed health club. And health clubs are also licensed by the Attorney General's Office, the Office of Consumer Affairs. Swimming pool lessons are okay now within health clubs. They are allowed to persons other than guests. They are allowed to persons under the age of 16, and they must have a lifeguard and first aid personnel. A health club will not lose their special exempt status just for having swimming lessons, provided they meet with all the rules and compliance here. It also became apparent that we needed to make a definition for a non-bathing beach. The department was petitioned to have oversight over all natural bathing waters in the state. Well, that is an absolute impossibility for us to do that, and it's beyond the scope of this particular rule. Therefore, we define what a non-bathing beach. So it's a beach not designated as a bathing beach. I know that sounds kind of funny, but it means when you have aquatic activities such as surfing, water skiing, etc. And they're used primarily for primary contact recreation, such as surfing, diving activities. They have a high ingestion risk, but they are not subject to this rule. Public recreational bathing place was changed to facility. In addition, we added to the definition that includes any beach that's advertised, published, or designated as a public bathing facility. It will not include a non-bathing beach or private recreational bathing facility. A private recreational bathing facility not subject to this rule are less than 3 dwelling units, single families and twin homes that share the same swimming facility, either lake or pool, are not subject to this rule. They are private. Spray parks. Obviously, they are facilities that spray water on participants. Key factor here is the water must be recirculated. The water depth may or may not have any depth. It could be zero depth entry. All are covered by the PRB rule, even if they're licensed by DCA. The key is the water is recirculated. Flow-through water parks, spray parks are not covered by this rule. Let's take a look at Subchapter 2 in the administration. Changes here. We try to clear this up, how to do plan reviews. So, new and alterations. Plans have to be submitted not only to the local health authority, but the code official as well, and vice versa. All plans, new and applications, must be submitted to the local health authority and the code official at the same time. And they must be certified by a design professional. There have been a lot of issues related to who comes first. Well, what the DCA and Department of Health decided to do is we put in their caveats into both of our rules, which state that the other department must approve it before you can move on. What this basically did was it guaranteed communication between the two departments. And that's the key, communication. It's as simple as an email or a phone call. Can let either department move further for approval, but construction cannot start until both departments have done their review. Some requirements for approval have been put into the rule to ensure that application review doesn't go on forever. For the first 30 days after the construction code official is giving their approval, the health authority must review theirs and complete it. However, we encourage them to start their review as soon as they get their application in. What that means is within 30 days, they have to get back to the applicant and let them know whether or not they're okay or they're not. If they're not, they must delineate out in writing what the issues are. If they need new information, they have 60 days more after they get the new information. Alterations have a maximum of 30 days. A new requirement, operational checklists. Operational checklists were designed to alleviate the stress on both the regulated community and the regulators for completing pre-operational inspections. So we required the TPO or owner, the trained pooled operator, to complete this form. For seasonal operations, it must be completed 21 days before opening. For year-round operations, it must be completed 30 days before the expiration of their approval certificate. These operational checklists must be provided to the local health authority. They are the ones that do the review, not the state health department. Inspections. Inspections have always been in the minimum practice standards, but now we're delineating it more specifically in the rule. The minimum practice standards will also mimic these requirements. Before, it was inspect as often as necessary. Now, we're going to require operational inspections for seasonal, 1 operational inspection, and 2 year-round inspections for year-round facilities. The pre-operational checklist will serve as the pre-operational inspection if the local health officer will approve it as such. The local health officer has the authority to determine whether or not to accept that pre-operational checklist as their pre-season inspection or do an on-site inspection. It's up to the jurisdiction of the local health officer, so check with your local health officer to find out what their requirements are. Approvals. They must be in some sort of written format. So, approval to open is either a license, a permit, can be signed off checklist, can be a signed off inspection. However the local health authority chooses to do it, a written approval must be provided to each facility. Can even be an email. They must approve or disapprove within 10 days of an actual inspection. So after inspections, within 10 days, a report must be filed to the facility. In actuality, majority of local health departments will provide it either immediately or within 24 hours. All approvals must be renewed every 12 months. It can be the beginning of the summer season, or it could be any time during the year for year-round facilities. Again, the TPO or owner, trained pooled operator, must fill out the checklist for routine renewals. All new facilities or alterations must have an on-site pre-operational inspection. A new requirement for this year regarding the trained pooled operator is that they must visit each site at a minimum of once per week. They're required to review all the records and ensure compliance with the rule. The area that they take a look at for compliance is generally the mechanical working of the pool and general safety functions of the pool and facility. These visits must be documented. The department is not going to develop a checklist. Each local health department can develop their own checklist. The documentation can be minimal. It does not have to be an extensive documentation, but somewhere, somehow, it must be documented that the TPO came on a weekly basis and the date and the general things that they reviewed. These documents also must remain on site for review by the local health authority. Subchapter 3. These are the construction code requirements in the former rule. In the new rule, we took out numerous sections of these and inserted to be in compliance with the New Jersey Uniform Construction Code. In 2015, the Department of Community Affairs adopted the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code. They have certain caveats, certain minor changes. Refer to their website for the specific changes, but for the most part, it's completely the 2015 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code that now meet the construction requirements for pools and spas. In this rule, we adopt ANSI 7. ANSI 7 is the suction entrapment avoidance guidance document from ANSI, which is in compliance with the Consumer Product Safety Commission and the Virginia Graham Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act. Other sections were recodified under the operational requirements, such as decks, walkways, diving stands, etc. These are the construction issues that the local health authority is not responsible to review during an application phase. They may be responsible for reviewing these during an operational inspection. Therefore, we moved them from Subchapter 3 and Subchapter 4, which has for spas, to 6.13 and 6.14. So if you're looking for some of these requirements, they've been moved to a different section called Operational Requirements. Wading pools now have a prohibition on new pools for single main drains. Will not be allowed unless it's an existing pool and it has an automatic shutoff switch. And there's an exception for gravity flow drains. Rope drops, cliff jumping, and aquatic play equipment are now specifically addressed and enhanced in the new rule. Cliff jumping, rope drops, and aquatic play equipment cannot exceed heights of greater than 15 feet. Any existing facility is not grandfathered. This includes free activities, not diving contests or things of that nature. Gas chlorination is now explicitly prohibited by the rule. I don't believe there are any in the state, but if there are, they are not grandfathered. The location construction requirements that were put into this rule were actually changed in September 7th of 2010 with the adoption of ANSI 1 and ANSI 2 in the Uniform Construction Code. We'll take a look at later the turnover rates, but this is where the most effect when the FAT went into effect was in 2010. The VGB Act, all existing pools must be compliant with this act. This went into effect back in 2009, and there's no excuse for not being compliant by 2018. Aquatic recreational facilities. All construction requirements of Subchapter 3 apply with the exceptions of barriers, depth of the wading pool. The reason is that Department of Health and Department of Community Affairs worked on NJAC 5:14 which is the water amusement ride section that DCA. Significant requirements there for barriers and depths are put into that rule. Water safety. Special exempt facilities. A new addition to the rule this year is that any facility that may meet the definition of special exempt cannot be special exempt if they have a functional diving board, water slide, or other high-risk equipment. There are no exemptions or grandfathering for this specific requirement. In addition, new signs must include the hours of operation at special exempt facilities. Sign manufacturing companies are in the process of developing these new signs. I encourage local health authorities to work with their regulated communities on the new signs. As long as the information is put out for this season, I think that will be acceptable. By next year, all new signs will be in place and provided by companies. Special exempt facilities. We talked earlier about health clubs. Specific requirement for defibrillators, AED equipment, is not exempted for health clubs. However, AED equipment is not required at a special exempt facility, but is strongly recommended by the department that all public recreational bathing facilities provide AED equipment, but is not required except at health clubs. No one under the age of 16 is allowed at health clubs, and the sign has to be posted. Pool Director Certification. The Pool Director Certification will not take effect until January 16th of 2019. They are for pools greater than 2,000 square feet. Now, one of the major questions we've had during this is, where are the certification programs? Many of the certification agencies are in the process still of developing these. The department will come out with some guidance by the end of this year. Lifeguard ratios. Lifeguard ratios have changed for this year. If a pool is less than 2,000 square feet and less than 60 bathers, a minimum of 1 lifeguard is required. That was the old rule. If it's more than 2,000 square feet now, a minimum of 2 lifeguards are required. In addition, a zone of protection plan. The area of supervision of a lifeguard. An actual document is required to show where they are supervised. It must show the overlap between lifeguards. In addition, the department chose to be more specific on the restrictions on lifeguards. The main requirement prior to this was they shall have no activity that will distract them from supervising bathers. We felt the need to be more specific. So, lifeguards cannot use their cell phones for routine use such as texting or listening to music. This does not include an emergency phone call. Reading is also explicitly prohibited. Any activity that distracts the guard is prohibited, which includes checking bathers into the pool facility, which includes checking pH and chlorine. They are distractions to the guards. New to the rule are some specifics regarding platforms. So, if a pool is greater than 2,000 square feet, a platform is required. Or, if the pool is greater than 5 feet deep, or if they have a diving area. We do allow alternatives. What is an alternative? An alternative means something different than a traditional lifeguard stand. If a lifeguard were standing at the edge of the pool and they're sitting at a stand, they must be elevated above where they would have been standing at. They must have clear view of the surface area of their entire zone that they are protecting. In addition, they must be able to look straight down at the bottom of the pool and see the edge. We changed the term aquatic supervision plan to aquatics facility plan because it's more encompassing than it has been in the past. It has the traditional requirements. However, the location of the emergency shutoff switch must be provided, hours of operation, water testing schedule and record keeping, and the zone of protection plan. New requirements for the aquatic facility plan. Here's where policies for floats and water toys would be provided to the local health authority for their review. In the past, floats and water toys were prohibited. Now they're not anymore. So a policy and procedure must be in place. Emergency equipment such as AEDs and automated external defibrillators are now required where a lifeguard is present. However, special exempt facilities are not required to put in provide AED equipment, even if they voluntarily put out a lifeguard for supervision. However, we recommend it. Throw lines must reach across the pool, the shortest distance of the pool, not the longest distance of the pool. And The address of the pool must be added to the emergency phone numbers list. Telescoping poles and plastic hooks are now prohibited explicitly. Telescoping poles will slip and plastic hooks can break. These are ones designed for rescue, and they're no longer acceptable. If you take a look at the first aid contents, what's showing now is the former requirements. In the new rule, we divided it up by size of pool, less than 2,000 square feet, 2,000 to 5,000 square feet, and greater than 5,000 square feet. The department has always encouraged local health authorities to use common sense when they are enforcing this particular requirement. New sign requirements. Plastic pants over diapers are no longer a requirement unless they're using a diaper. Swimming diapers are now officially allowed. This is terminology used by the CDC regarding swimming diapers. The bathing rules must also include water toys and floats used in the aquatic facility plan. Wading pool and spray park supervision. The new signage here is parents or guardians are required to supervise their children at all times. No children are allowed in the wading pool or spray park without adult supervision. Wading pools and aquatic recreational facilities must meet all of Section 5.2 supervision requirements. Aquatic recreational facilities are required to have lifeguards even at their spray parks and wading pool areas. Water slides. The lifeguard must be in clear view and be able to allow them rapid access. So they need to be at the bottom area of the pool, where the bathers are sliding in. They may need to provide extra protection and supervision based on various factors. Lifeguards are not required at the top of the slide. The individual at the top of the slide is designed to prevent what's shown in this particular picture here, so that the sliders do not slide down on top of one another. Water slide and landing areas must be properly delineated. Let's take a look at the bathing beach supervision. The beach supervisor, which is equivalent to a TPO in a pool, they must visit once per week. They must look for hazards, review the records, and ensure compliance with the law. Lifeguards for ocean and back bays have not been changed since the prior rule. One guard for every 300 square feet. For all other bathing beaches, one lifeguard is acceptable if the bathing beach is less than 100 square feet, and 2 lifeguards are required for every 300 square feet. Once again, lifeguards are not allowed and prohibited from doing any activity that's going to distract them from supervising bathers. So no texting, no reading, and no music. This does not include piped-in music to facilities. The aquatic facility plan for bathing beaches has to include a map of the known hazards, hours of operation, schedule of operational activities such as record keeping, water testing. AEDs are required where there's greater than 500 swimmers or the lifeguard is present. And they must post the address of the beach on the emergency phone numbers list. Subchapter 6, General Sanitation and Maintenance Operations. Bathrooms and dressing rooms must be provided at all PRB facilities. That's constructed prior to 1986 is okay if there's no dressing rooms, but bathrooms are now required at all PRB facilities. There are no longer any exemptions for bathrooms. The bathroom, however, can be portable. Any facility that's constructed prior to 2010, it can be within 50 feet of the pool or the spa. At the entrance to the beach, 1 bathroom minimum is a requirement. Portables are okay. Now, an exception here for condominiums where they have ownership. All the entrance doors, so all the front doors of each unit, must be within 100 feet of the entrance to the pool to be exempt from bathroom requirements. Beyond 100 feet, a bathroom is required at the pool. Operational requirements. This is the new section that was put in. This was designed specifically for the local health authorities when they do operational inspections, what they are going to look for. In addition, you'll find in here the new turnover rates. As I alluded to before, the new turnover rates went into effect in 2010. Pools are now 6 hours. Waiting pool 1 hour. Hot tubs and spas remain the same at 30 minutes. Now, the major question is, what happened if a pool slipped through the cracks? It was built after 2010 and prior to January of 2018. The department recommends that the local health authority take a look at the pool itself. Are there any issues associated with that pool? Do they have failed water tests? Is the water maintained clear? Do they maintain all the chemistry correctly? If there are no issues and the pool was constructed with an 8-hour turnover rate, let it go until there's an alteration. In additional requirements now for under the operational section, it's more specific requirement to the pumps that must be running 24/7. They cannot turn the pump off at all. However, there are new design pumps that are variable speed. They do not have to meet the turnover rates at night. And night in this case refers to when the pool is closed. If night swimming is allowed, then the turnover rates must be met according to rule. It's more specific now regarding daily inspection of the suction outlets. A facility must be immediately closed down if a suction outlet is missing, broken, or can easily be removed by hand. Chemical controllers have always been in the rule. However, specific requirements now are in the rule for chemical controllers, such as a written preventive maintenance plan, accuracy of the controller and sensors, an ORP chart must be provided on site, oxidation reduction potential, and that ORP chart must be validated against manual daily testing with a DPD test kit. The records must be maintained. Now, if a facility chooses to not conduct pH and chlorine testing every 2 hours, they must follow the chemical controller requirements section. In addition, do a manual DPD test twice a day and document the test results and compare to the sensors. In addition, chemical controller data must be readily available, downloaded, and printed whenever a local health authority wishes to review it. This picture is just a basic design of how you would find a chemical controller system in a pool circulation system. Diving stands, boards, slides, and floats. They're required to meet the New Jersey Uniform Construction Code. All surfaces must be smooth, easily cleaned, and free of cracks. Now regarding the floors and walls of the pool must have a pattern and color or finish that does not obscure the presence of objects or surfaces within the pool. Subchapter 7, Sampling and Water Quality. As I stated earlier, the DSAM, the Department-Sanctioned Analytical Method, is the most currently approved analytical methods, and whenever a new one is approved, it automatically meets the PRB rule. A change regarding sampling is that the sample must be maintained at less than 50 degrees while it's being transported. Processing of samples. Processing samples of pools must be processed after collection within 30 hours. The new rule is requirement of 8 hours to get to the lab and start the processing. This is in compliance with the US EPA standard methods. In addition, labs must notify the state and local health authority and the operator within 1 hour after a sample is unsatisfactory. Doesn't mean they have to complete informing all of their constituents that a sample failed, but it must start within 1 hour. In addition, the written report must be within 1 business day. Another key definition here is it's specific now to when a resample needs to be taken. The prior rule stated immediately. Immediately ended up being sometimes the following week. Therefore, the department felt it was necessary to define what an immediate sample was, and that is within 24 hours of being notified of an exceedance of standard. The CCMP, the Cooperative Coastal Management Program, their sampling program has always been in compliance with that. pH and chlorine. The standards for that have changed. We now allow a maximum of 10 parts per million. pH has stayed the same, 7.2 to 7.8. Now, when a facility is testing these, the prior guidance document that's still up on the department's webpage is still in effect. And that basically means if a facility is using a 10 part per million result, they must have equipment to manually test that is equivalent to at least 11 parts per million. So in a nutshell, whatever result that they want to attain, the equipment must be a minimum of 1 part per million higher than what they are testing for. Microbiological standards for bathing beaches have now changed for freshwater to be in compliance with the US EPA. It's no longer the use of fecal coliforms. It's now based on E. coli. So the new standard is less than 320 colony forming units per 100 ml. Marine waters have stayed the same at enterococcus densities. At natural bathing waters, it's now a requirement. They have to post a sign for storm conditions. The storm has caused rip currents to develop. Do not go into the water while the dangerous condition exists. The department will allow alternative methods, but they need to be provided and show that it's equivalent to that sign. All right, let's take a look at Subchapter 8, Enforcement Procedures. The local health authority is required to review the checklist submitted by the TPO. They decide if an inspection is required before opening. Again, that is up to the authority of the local health officer, who may choose to do an on-site inspection. However, the checklist is required to be submitted by every facility other than ocean facilities. Approval may be given based on the checklist alone. Bathing beaches must be inspected prior to the opening. Seasonal pool have 1 operational inspections. A new requirement are the rating system. Satisfactory means substantial compliance. Conditional satisfactory means 1 or more violations. Unannounced re-inspections. And a local health authority may choose to do a full inspection. Unsatisfactory means gross unsanitary or unsafe conditions. It can be an imminent health hazard or safety hazard. Such grounds for closure could be underwater hazards that have not been identified. You'll find this up in Northwest Jersey. An additional ground for closure could be lack of required supervisory personnel or lifeguard. For example, a natural bathing water such as a lake must have a water guard, a lake water guard. A pool guard is not acceptable personnel at a lake. Equipment structures and areas are poorly maintained. All right, let's take a look at closures. So closures of bathing beaches. First, microbiological exceedance. The lab and beach operator notify the local health authority within 1 hour. CCMP, it's within 30 minutes. Non-CCMP areas must notify the New Jersey Department of Health within 24 hours. Operators post an advisory sign. Posting the notice of exceedance online and link to either the CCMP website or the Municipal Health Authority website. Resamples must be taken within 24 hours. Operators in the local health authority must do a sanitary survey to identify pollution sources. This is the advisory sign that must be posted. Second exceedances means an automatic closure. Notification is the same, and the beach will remain closed until there's no more exceedance. This is the advisory sign that must be required for closures. As you can see, there are spaces open for the specific health authority. A new requirement this year is more specific regarding closures of bathing beaches due to heavy rainfall. If there are exceedances because of heavy rainfalls, the beach should be closed until specified by the local health authority. Now, how do you decide that? If the prior year samples have been closed more than 50% of the time because of right after a rainfall, the operator is required to post a permanent sign. And that sign basically states, rainfall causes water quality at the beach to exceed microbiological water quality standards. Water contact may cause illness. No swimming or bathing is allowed for blank amount of hours after the rain has stopped to enable the rainfall caused water pollution to dissipate. The blank is left there for determination in cooperation with the local health authority and New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. It can vary from facility to facility. Record keeping has changed. It's now a minimum requirement to maintain it for 3 years on site. So some of the records now required are your standard record keeping. They'll also have to have notifications of unsatisfactory water samples to the local health authority. notifications of closings and reopenings, non-microbiological water contamination events, floatable debris wash-up events, and of course the checklists. An additional requirement on the local health authority is called the geometric mean. For natural bathing waters, the CCMP is going to be calculating the geo mean. For non-CCMP areas, they're going to be calculated by the local health authority. In a nutshell, geo means or geometric means are the central tendency of a set of numbers, so it gives a much better average. If you have an extreme low or an extreme high, it will be thrown out by these calculations. A report to the New Jersey Department of Health is going to be required by each local health authority of the natural bathing water results, showing the geometric means. The department hasn't developed as of yet the spreadsheet, but one will be coming out to the local health departments as soon as we can. This is an example of one. Bathing beach samples. The geometric mean for marine water is 30, and for freshwater is 100. There's a problem if it exceeds that geometric mean. So what does that mean? They must have a 30-day rolling mean. Then a sanitary survey is required and submitted. All fields are required on the form. So what do they do with the water quality exceedance? First sample, resample, issue an advisory, resample and conduct sanitary surveys until the result is below the water quality sample. Bracket sampling is required, but the beach remains open. Advisories need to be posted. If the second sample exceeds the water quality standard, the beach is closed and posted. Resample until the result is below the water quality standard, and conduct a sanitary survey and also include bracket sampling. One of the questions we've had over the years is when you have a bracket sample, any one of the three that still exceeds the standard, then the entire sample is considered an exceedance. Reporting of deaths and serious injuries. The operator has 24 hours to report this to the local health authority. Death or serious injuries includes drownings, near drownings, head or neck injuries that require external medical attention, such as an ambulance taking an individual to the hospital. The local health authority, in turn, has 24 hours to report it to New Jersey Department of Health. The local health authority is required to do an immediate investigation and complete the CB2. They in turn have 5 days to submit that CB2 to the Department of Health. The new CB2 form the new CB2 form does no longer have the issues related to the HIPAA requirements. Therefore, since CB2s must either be mailed or hand-delivered to the Department of Health, the Department of Health will definitely be lenient regarding the 5 days. However, an investigation must be conducted immediately. You'll find the new form at the address listed on the screen. Appendices. In Appendix A, you'll find all the recognized certification agencies, not the specific course names. They change on a year-to-year basis. But everything on here is the certification agencies that have been approved by the department for the various requirements. First aid supplies. pH, chlorine, and combined chlorine requirements. And of course, Appendix E, the checklist for public recreational bathing facilities. Okay. There are some questions that the department would like to respond to. The first one is, what is a TPO in relation to a CPO? A TPO is a trained pooled operator. It's a generic term. There are no certifications for TPOs. Each trained pooled operator has varying type of names. There are things such as certified pool operator on location. They are specified in the recognized certifications. How does someone get a TPO certification? From one of the recognized certification agencies. Is there a checklist for the weekly visits for the TPO? The department hasn't had time to develop any checklist because one is not really necessary for that. It's just basic documentation of what they do. Are float tanks exempted from these rules? Yes, they are. The department has determined that float tanks are not subject to the public recreational bathing rule. Is a hotel with a diving board considered specially exempt? No, they are not. If there are two pools on site, can one pool be specially exempt for adults only and one be a regular guarded pool? No, specially exempt facilities are either specially exempt or not. You can't have one without the other. So how do you deal with that? Well, a special exempt facility must maintain their status by providing the appropriate signage, even if they are providing a lifeguard. They have to meet certain requirements. Some of their requirements are informing the local health authority that they will be providing guards at various times. However, to maintain their special exempt status, they must always provide the signage, which includes no lifeguard on duty. But the facility may choose to provide a sign when they provide a lifeguard. The key here is, facility wants to maintain their special exempt status. They have to provide all the signage. They have to inform the local health authority. They are not required to provide an AED equipment, although it's recommended. They are allowed to put out one guard or any number of guards that they wish to put out. The local health authority will not be reviewing certifications. They will not be reviewing them as a lifeguard. Can you clarify the maximum water depth for special exempt facilities? No, because there are no depth requirements. Are youth camps with pools considered a specially exempt facility? No, they may not be special exempt. Lifeguard stands, including in the exemption at condos? Yes, they are exempt from lifeguard stands if they maintain their special exempt status, since they are not required by statute to provide any guards at all. What if the special exempt facility offers swim lessons? Yes, they're allowed to. Does an exempt facility with greater than 2,000 square feet that provides a lifeguard have to comply with all the signage required for such facilities? Also, do they have to have a second guard? The answer to the first question is yes, they have to provide all the signage. Are they required to provide a second guard? They're not required to provide any guards at all. It's up to the facility. Can we make the diving board non-functional with a barrier during our exempt weekday status? Well, the answer to this is complicated. The answer is no. For example, special exempt facilities can never have a diving board. Therefore, it has to be taken down and disassembled. It cannot be even protected by a sign. That is not adequate. If we go exempt full-time, such as no diving board, and we volunteer to supply guards on weekends, do we need to follow the square footage rule for guards? No. Special exempt facilities are exempt from providing lifeguards by statute. Bathroom and dressing rooms. If a new pool is under construction now and we're given a waiver to not have a dressing room last year before the new changes, is the waiver still valid? Dressing room, yes. Bathroom, no. For exempt facilities concerning bathrooms, can the bathroom be a portable unit? Yes, they can. How far does it have to be located from the pool? It has to be on the pool grounds, generally within 50 feet. Are bathrooms required as special exempt facilities? Yes. Can a waiver for bathrooms be provided at a condo? No. If a school has a pool that is over 2,000 square feet surface area, and they only use the pool for swim lessons, do they need 2 guards? This needs to be evaluated by the local health authority. However, lifeguard ratios are provided for free swim activities, not for swim lessons. Therefore, as long as there's a guard on the deck, that generally suffices for swim lessons. Was there any consideration taken for facilities with pools over 2,000 square feet if there are only a few swimmers with still needing 2 lifeguards? Yes, of course there are. A facility can lessen the square footage of the pool by ropes and signage and instructing lifeguards to ensure that they do not allow anyone into those areas. In addition, this has to be in the aquatic facility plan and provided to the local health authority. If you have any further questions on that one, you should refer to the frequently asked questions on the website. If a facility has less than 2,000 square feet, but more than 60 bathers, should they have 2 lifeguards? Yes, they would be required to have a minimum of 2 guards. If a portion of the pool over 2,000 square feet is closed, such that the surface area of the open portion of the pool is under 2,000 square feet, would 1 or 2 lifeguards be required? Yes, a minimum of 1 guard would be required. To clarify, would there need to be a 3rd guard to check badges or do 2-hour water tests? One of the 2 scheduled guards cannot step away to do this. Yes, that's correct. They cannot do anything that distracts them from supervising and protecting bathers. Can lifeguards test water while their swimmers are in the pool? No, if they're on duty. For bathing beaches that have 250 feet, how many guards do they need? 2. The rule is very clear. From 100 to 300 feet, they need to have 2 guards. Less than 100 feet, 1. That's the minimum requirement. Do 2 lifeguards need to be provided if a pool has a diving board? Yes. High-risk activity, diving boards, slides, etc. However, the local health authority will review on site and see how many additional guards are required. If the pool is only used for diving, do you still need 2 guards? No. NJAC 8:26-3 and 26-4 specify how to collect samples but do not specify who collects the samples. That's correct. Labs are not required to take the samples. It can be someone from the facility. However, the local health authority has the right to review the qualifications of that individual. For example, They may watch them and see if they know what they're doing when they take the water sample. Does AED equipment need to be directly on the pool deck? No. It must be within a distance of a maximum of 3 minutes to providing treatment. What that means is an individual who's going to walk rapidly to the AED equipment cannot walk further than 1.5 minutes to get to the equipment so they can get back and provide assistance in under 3 minutes. That's the basic guideline for the location. Are AEDs required at condo associations that are specially exempt? They are not required at a specially exempt facility, but recommended by the department. Is a spine board required per pool, or can they have one spine board for a facility with multiple pools? Well, a minimum of one spine board is required. If they have multiple pools in one facility, one spine board is generally adequate, depending on the size and location of the pools. The local health authority is instructed to evaluate and make a judgment call. I want to thank you very much for attending this webinar today. If you have any further questions, I encourage you to review the FAQs, which are updated on a routine basis. If you have any questions, please submit it to prb@doh.nj.gov. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.